Good afternoon, everyone. We have international participants today from Indonesia, Malaysia, and I don't know, Philippines, I guess. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Georgina Mika. I'm based in Jakarta. I'm Director of internegriMigration. And this is our first webinar for the Portugal Golden Visa for 2022. Here, I would like to introduce our speaker. First is Antonio Viñal Jr. He's the senior partner of Avco Legal Portugal. And then Judy Leo, based in Malaysia, KL, Malaysia. She's the director of IPS Real Estate. She will talk about the real estate part. And then Jamie. Jamie is a Portugal Golden Visa holder. So she could tell firsthand about her experience as a Golden Visa holder. And she's also handling the document parts for Avco Legal in KL, Malaysia. And then Ricardo Baptista is represented today by Teresa Cunha from Spark Capital, Portugal. And just a little bit about myself. Through internegriMigration, I promote Portugal, Spain, Cyprus, and Greece for the EU countries, and also for America, US immigration with EB5 and EB3, and then Canada for startup visa, skilled, and also business migration, and then Australia and also New Zealand. For those who invited by me, this is my contact details. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, Judith, the time is yours.
Sure. So let me start sharing the presentation and we will dive right into the Portugal Golden Visa and its benefits. There has been some changes in 2022, and that's actually a great thing. Because every good program has good changes, and so we'll describe that in this seminar. So Georgina has done a really great job introducing everyone. I'll just introduce everyone's roles. So in the processing of a Portugal Golden Visa, the most, I suppose, active in the processing of that is Antonio and his office in Lisbon, and the company is called Avco Legal. You can Google them on avco.legal. Antonio's a partner. Actually, he's Dr. Antonio, and he's a partner of Avco Legal. He's actually called to the bars of Spain and Portugal. He's experienced in tax and Islamic finance as well. And of course, the Spain and Portugal Golden Visa and immigration. And he has several publications. You can actually look him up on LinkedIn. You'll see some of his recent publications there. Georgina, she's our representative in Indonesia, and she has a very important task of liaising with all our clients in Indonesia, and there is quite some paperwork when it comes to processing the Portugal Golden Visa, and we make it as auto run for you through Georgina's really fantastic works in Indonesia. And then Jamie's a consultant with Intergentium Asia. She also represents Avco Legal in Asia Pacific, and she has a golden visa. So she's gone through the process, she's done the paperwork, and so she's really experienced and is able to answer most of your questions. In fact, I would say all of your questions in depth, including things like if you're planning for your children's education, settling in. Those are Jamie's really core expertise, because obviously she's done it or doing it for herself. And myself, I am, my name is Judith. I'm a director of international property settlements. We've been selling Australian property for the past 12 years. And we have, we embarked on the program on the Portugal Golden Visa around 4 years ago together as a team, we have clients from India, from Bangladesh, from Thailand, from Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, Philippines, and also Indonesia. So we actually cover most of the Southeast Asia market, and we are experienced in processing paperwork in all these markets as well. So we have actually almost 100 clients from all these areas, and including golden visa and including reunifications in excess of 200. So let me first introduce Jamie. She has a Portugal Golden Visa, and you'll see a little bit of her card later on. And she's going to describe why she embarked on this program.
Thank you, Judith. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for making time to join us today. I have to say that a few years ago, when my husband decided to embark on the program, it was actually, for me, it was something very new, and I didn't expect it to be such a wonderful program until I went through the entire process. And these are basically why the reasons why the Portuguese Golden Visa is very popular. The Portuguese Golden Visa, when we did look at what we wanted was an alternative residency, because we believe at some point in time, we wanted to have the opportunity to open some doors for our children, be it for education or for them to continue working overseas when they grow up. We really wanted an option and a residency for them to be able to access other countries. Although we really enjoyed living in Malaysia, but we also wanted the additional option to be able to access the other countries, just in case their career actually will bring them towards that direction. So one of our findings was that the Portuguese Golden Visa was really attractive for the reasons that it's actually a very flexible program. It is actually a residency by investment program. So it's not a citizenship by investment program. It is a residency by investment program, which was actually launched by the government in 2012. Today, it is actually by far one of the most successful residency programs in the world because of several reasons. Firstly, the investment amount actually starts from a minimum of 280,000 euros onwards. The other thing that's also wonderful about the program is that it doesn't require one to actually relocate. One will actually only need to do an average of 14 days, a minimum of 14 days every 2 years. So I wanted to share my experience as well. I was actually due to do my renewals actually in last year, and I actually did part of my number of days in 2019. So thanks to the Portuguese Golden Visa, which only required me to spend a minimum of 14 days every 2 years, I was actually able to fulfill my minimum number of days despite the pandemic, where I actually managed to do 10 days in 2019, and I did another 7 days last year. So I have to say that the Portuguese Golden Visa program is excellent because I said it's so easy. Despite the pandemic, we are still able to meet the minimum requirements. And that's why we also decided on this program. The other thing about the program is that the residency, you can actually get a pre-approval quite quickly once you've decided on the investments. We can actually get going with the processes and actually be able to get a pre-approval within the period of 6 to 8 months. The other thing is also with regards to the family reunification. I think one of the benefits about the program is that with one single investment, depending on the ages of your children and so on, you can actually reunify up to 3 generations of a family. And I think during this pandemic, where a lot of families are actually separated because they don't have a residency, let's say together with their children who's studying abroad, having this program and this residency is definitely very useful and beneficial to be able to include the entire family together. And of course, not forgetting the fact that when I was in Portugal, I was also very comforted with the idea that being a Golden Visa holder myself, I will be also treated just like any other citizen or PR. I have access actually to the healthcare in Portugal, which is ranked 12th in the world, even before Australia and the UK. And my children will be able to live, work, and study in Portugal and access the education system which is not only limited to Portugal, but also the other 26 countries through some of the other programs such as the Erasmus program and so on. These are just some of the statistics of how many people have applied for the Golden Visa. And we have a total of at least about 18,000 people who have actually applied for the Golden Visa since. And that's why I mentioned it was actually one of the most, and is currently one of the most successful residency programs in the world. As mentioned, I think in terms of just the threshold itself, we also did a comparison amongst other European residency programs, and we found Portugal to be the easiest to access. And in addition to that, I think what was also important was the investments alone were also very good in giving good rental yields and capital appreciation. This is an example of the card that Judith was mentioning. So with this card, I have to say, especially during this pandemic, was extremely beneficial and important. Especially in Malaysia, where our government didn't allow us to even renew the passports unless we had an alternative residency. I have to say this card was extremely useful, that at least I was able to renew my passport and to give them a valid reason to renew my passport. And then even when I was traveling in Europe, it was necessary for me to be in Europe, not only to fulfill my number of days in Portugal, but also for some work purposes. And I was very grateful that with this card, I'm able to stay 90 or 180 days in Schengen, even despite during this pandemic period. Oops. So one of the other things that is important to note is that after 5 years of being a temporary resident and a golden visa holder, you can actually consider applying for PR or citizenship. Now, I will leave it to Antonio to explain a little bit more in detail what are the differences. But in a nutshell, I would say that the PR basically is a general extension of the Portuguese Golden Visa temporary residency. It's just that you don't need to do the renewals anymore. Whereas the citizenship will actually allow you to actually live across for unlimited number of days in the 26 countries. It will also allow you to study for free in some of the public institutions or universities in the 26 countries. It will also allow you to also work in any of these countries without actually needing a work permit. So because of that, I would say there's a lot of benefits actually to look at the option of the citizenship. Otherwise, one can also consider just doing the PR and then after that converting into citizenship. The other thing is, of course, if you do choose to opt for citizenship, the wonderful thing about the Portuguese passport, it allows you to actually not only access the 26 countries, but also allows you to access like the US or Canada visa free. And it really allows one to actually travel quite freely globally as well. Last but not least, I would say one of my major reasons why I also chose to invest in Portugal was when I met Antonio, and the team and him has been the most helpful in the entire process of my golden visa, and that's why since then we are very happy to be able to assist and to help the team in Kuala Lumpur and the rest of our clients to join the community of our golden visa holders in Portugal. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Antonio now to share with you how you can actually apply for a golden visa and also what are the recent changes in the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be discussing the characteristics of the Golden Visa program in Portugal. And yes, as Jamie pointed out, the most recent changes and how this would affect anyone's investment. Now, as far as the program itself is concerned, it's very simple. It's a 5-year program, and you need apart from the investment itself, because it is a residency by investment program, you need to show that you have no convictions, basically have a clean criminal record. And then, as Jamie also mentioned, you have the minimum stay requirement, which is very easy to comply with, possibly one of the easiest, if not the easiest, program to comply with. And we're looking at 14 days in every 2-year period. We will see there are 3 cards, 2 years per card. And on the 5th year, of course, it's just the 7 days. And the fact that you are a temporary residency holder will allow you later on to qualify for citizenship should you wish to pursue that application. In terms of options, as you can see in the slide, there are up to 8 options, but definitely the 3 highlighted in bold are the ones that I would say accumulate around 90% of all applications. So starting at the top, you can purchase property for a minimum amount of 500,000 euro. Number 2, you purchase property also, but in this case, there's a part of the price or part of the investment consists of refurbishment of that property. So, of course, not any property is eligible. It has to be at least 30 years old or located in one of the so-called urban renewal areas. And these are areas defined by the council, usually city centers. And so the cost of the property plus the cost of the refurbishment needs to total 350,000 euro. And the third most popular option is actually a fund investment. And so you can put 500,000 euro and invest it in venture capital funds. And there are also real estate funds. And the only condition is that these funds must deploy their funds in Portuguese companies, or at least 60% of these funds need to be deployed within Portuguese companies. So it's not just any kind of, let's say, your usual JP Morgan funds, etc. These are very specific and, of course, approved by the Portuguese Securities Commission. Now, within the property option, let's refine this a little more, because right now, and due to the changes which have been implemented in January 2022, there are a few nuances. In terms of the property and the eligibility of the property for golden visa investors, we now have to focus. If you would like residential property, if that's your target, residential property is only eligible in the interior areas of Portugal, as well as the islands of Azores and Madeira. So we'll look a little further on into the maps, and you can get a rough idea of what exactly these interior areas are. Right there on the left-hand side, you can see the interior areas shaded in green. So if you wish to buy residential property, the shaded areas in green are eligible for this purpose. So you can see it's, as the name says, or as the denomination goes, these are interior territories. There's a bit of coastline, especially down south, and a little bit on the tips of the Algarve as well. So again, these areas are eligible for the purpose of, if we could go back to the 2 slides back, please. Thank you. These areas are eligible. And the map on the right with the pink shaded areas, these, if you decide to buy a property in the pink shaded areas, you get a 20% discount. So the 500,000 option becomes 400,000 option, and the 350,000 option becomes 280,000 option. So if you look at these 2 maps, they more or less overlap. They're not exactly the same, so you have to be careful And understand that the map to the left, green map, that's the residential, that's where residential properties are still eligible for the Golden Visa program. The map on the right gives you the 20% discount in the property investment option. Now, you might be asking yourselves, well, I would like to consider the capital, Lisbon, the major cities like Porto and the coastline. You can still invest in property in these areas. Now, not residential. You can buy commercial property, and this would account for office space, retail lots, touristic apartments, and so forth. So any commercial use is still allowed as a property investment option outside of the green area. So moving further on, we will discuss now the possibility the program gives the main applicant or the main investor to reunify family members. And as you can see, the program is quite generous because we're looking at spouse or de facto partner, unmarried partner, as long as you've been together for at least 2 years, children under 18, but also children of 18 and above, as long as they're financially dependent. And financially dependent in this case means that they're studying and single. So if we can prove both requirements, then yes, the child is eligible, and also both the applicant's parents and the parents of the spouse, as long as they're financially dependent as well. In terms of permanent residency and citizenship, that will follow after year 5. So once you've completed your 5 years within the program, you can actually choose whether you want to go with permanent residency or citizenship. Now, the difference, as Jamie pointed out, is that with permanent residency, your ability to live, work, study, generally stay within the European Union is with Portugal. So it's just Portugal. Of course, you can still travel freely within the Schengen area and stay up to 90 days every 6 months. Now, with citizenship, of course, your options open. And once you attain that status, you can actually live, work, study in any EU country. The formalities to change from one country to the next are extremely simple. So, of course, citizenship will give you a much broader opportunities. In terms of the timeline, we would be looking at a very simple process. It all begins with a Portuguese tax number. Then the Portuguese tax number is used to open a bank account. The bank account is very important because that's where your money, your investment money, has to be deposited. And then it will be used once you have selected your investment to proceed with the investment. Then we collect the relevant documents. We submit the application. The application consists of 2 phases. Number 1, it's purely online. You do not have to travel. We submit the documents. Once it clears, then we will be notified and that you are pre-approved, meaning that we can schedule your visit to Portugal. And with this visit, this will accomplish 2 things. Number 1, your biometric data will be collected. And number 2, there will be a full resubmission of the original file, the documents that were lodged online initially. So after final approval, your card is issued, and we would repeat that. Now it's at the end of year 2 and the end of year 4. So very clearly spelled out in this slide. There are 3 cards, each one valid for 2 years. Minimum stay is 14 days in every 2-year period. You will see below the processing fees and the cost of the cards, and these are fees that are paid to the Portuguese government. So overall, once you've completed the program, per person, we are looking at around 12,000 euro. And again, this is per person, family members, main applicants, etc. If you wish to enter the program through a property investment, then of course there will be taxes involved at some point, actually at several points. Number one, we are looking at the moment of purchase, and there are two taxes that we would be looking at. So transfer tax, known as IMT, which is on a sliding scale and depends on the cost of the property price. And number two, stamp duty, which is fixed at 0.8%. Then as a property holder, you will be paying annual property tax. And the rates vary depending on where the property is located in. So from 0.3 to 0.45%. And this is calculated not on market price, not on your purchase price, but on a much, much lower tax value. The properties are assessed by the tax administration every few years, and this assessment or appraisal is much lower than market value. If you wish to make money on your investment, which of course you're entitled to do, then you can go for short-term or long-term investment. So long-term investment or long-term rental, is any rental which has a duration of at least 1 year and above. And the rate we are looking at for non-residents is 28%. On short-term rental income, we would be looking at 12.5%. It could be a little lower depending on the location of the property itself as well. So a lot of people opt for short-term rental, and this is your typical Airbnb style lease. In terms of other taxes, and again, this is an added benefit or bonus, if you like, if you decide to embark on the program. There's no wealth tax in Portugal. There is no gift and inheritance tax, and there is a very low tax for short-term rental. And also, you might be wondering, is my property freehold? Yes, your property will be freehold, and you can further on, once you decide to sell off your property, there are no restrictions in terms of who you can sell it to, whether we're looking at locals or foreigners. So once again, it's an extremely flexible and attractive program overall. And I think that's all for me right now. So I will pass the baton on to Judith. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. So the Portuguese Golden Visa program is one of the most popular Golden Visa programs in the world, and you can probably see why, because it is a clear program. It has been established since 2012, and there are basically mainly three rules. One is invest in a qualifying asset, usually into property. We have a question earlier about what to do with the property, and that is our responsibility. Actually, I see it as my responsibility to find your property where it's positive yielding, and also something that suits you, whether you're looking at moving, whether you're looking at not moving, and we will look into the management of the property in the long run and the exit plan as well. So there are choices of properties, there are also choices of funds, and we can take you through those processes and the ideal investment. We aim to recommend you a property or an investment actually that is beneficial for you, that has capital gains, that also has yield, so that actually the Golden Visa is the cherry on the pie. So why Portugal? A little bit about Portugal. It is on the west side of Spain, and it's on the west coast of Europe. And as you can see here, is this country right here. And in terms of the main cities, as Antonio has described earlier, that we have Lisbon, Lisbon, and then 3 hours to Porto, and then drive, and 3 hours or about 2.5 hours to Algarve drive. And while residential property in these areas no longer qualify, there are actually ways through funds still to own some residential property in this area, and actually Spark have some solutions. So if that is your intention, then please also let us know. At international property settlements, we have actually many choices for you, but we are focusing on one particular area and one particular development today for the purposes of this particular webinar. So that's how Portugal looks like, and a little bit about Portugal. There's about 10.5 million people living in Portugal. They're very proud of these factors. What is Portugal known for? They're known for football. They're known for their wine and their port wine in particular. They're one of the largest cork producers in the world. So every bottle of wine that you are opening, about 70% are produced in Portugal, and that's because these trees are unique to Portugal. And of course, for the food is affordable in Portugal and very yummy. And the Portugal egg tart, this pastis Belém, pastis Benata, I think it's called, and it's actually created in a place called Belém, and it is very yummy. And Portugal are also very famous for their sweets. So we get asked this a lot, what the weather is like in Portugal, and as you can see in Lisbon, it never really quite drops below 10 degrees. Algarve being a little bit warmer and Porto being a little bit cooler, but actually it's Portugal has been named one of the best places to retire with the world's best climate. There's 3,000 sunny hours and 300 sunny days on average in a year. And actually Portugal has been named #1 as the best weather in all of Europe. And it's actually a #1 in terms of traveling in Europe safely in these times of COVID, during this time, because of the weather and because of the beaches, because of the general safety in these areas as well. So we also get asked this a lot, what is the level of English and how easy it is getting by in Portugal? And I must say we also deal with other countries in Europe, but I find Portugal very, very easy. Almost all the Portuguese property developers and our colleagues there speak fluent English actually. So much like Singapore and Malaysia, 60% speak fluent English according to this EPI English Proficiency Index by Statista. And also learning Portuguese though is probably not such a bad idea because it is some of the most spoken languages in the world. It's the 6th most spoken language in the world. There are 170 million speakers. It is a useful language. It's also very similar to Spanish, which is the 2nd most spoken language in the world. So also in terms of healthcare, it has one of the most best healthcare systems, is number 26 in terms of the Bloomberg 2020 Healthcare Efficiency Index. So you can see it over here, Bloomberg Healthcare, it ranks 26, and it actually improved by 8 over the last year or so. So it's actually ranked very highly. It's also the 4th most peaceful country in the world. Last year it was the 3rd most peaceful country in the world, but it's overtaken by Denmark. But that's after Iceland and New Zealand. And in Iceland and New Zealand, there is ice and more sheep than people. So Portugal actually and Denmark are actually really, really great places to live in because of its safety. Education is equally important and worth mentioning. Large cities like Lisbon and Porto have some of the best universities. Its universities are known for the quality courses since 1288, where the first prestigious University of Coimbra was founded. And with regard to business schools, Nova School of Business is actually ranked 27th in the Financial Times ranking for the best European management schools. So it also ranks 35th best in the world under QS World University Rankings 2018. And it's also one of the best places for expats. So in 2021, it's actually the 5th most best places for expats, just after Malaysia actually, and that's because of the beautiful weather and quality of life, and also affordable living, great food as well. So in terms of quality of life, Portugal actually ranks #1. It's quality of living is one of the most important motives for expats in Portugal, and also there's plenty of leisure options. It ranks #2 in the world. Personal happiness also ranks #2 in the world. So if we want to be happy, live in Portugal. Health and well-being as well, #7. They have a very healthy lifespan, up to an average lifespan of 81 years old, which is one of the highest in the world as well. And in terms of safety and security, they rank #8. So they're all good factors to consider Portugal as an alternative residency, especially in the times that we live in right now. Lisbon is also well below the most expensive cities for expats. In fact, it ranks 33, where Ashgabat is one of the most expensive cities, Hong Kong, of course, and Singapore. Lisbon ranks 83. So in fact, more reasonable than Manila. And it's one of the top retirement destination. In fact, this article says it's extraordinary. Portugal ranked as the best country for Americans to retire to. And in terms of this World Economic Forum report, Portugal aims to be one of the top green countries in the world. And by 2050, 80% of its power consumption will be by renewable energy. So, and they're doing really well. A company called Vestas produces a lot of these turbines and has invested significantly in Portugal and these turbines, but they also use hydroelectricity, and of course, because of its sunny weather, solar electricity as well. So it is also the tech hub of Europe. So all these articles name why is Portugal the tech hub of Europe, is the new land of startups, is the new Silicon Valley of Europe. Well, because wages are still generally quite low compared to the rest of Europe. The skills in terms of the education is high, and of course it's a very progressive country to invest in. It's a safe country, so companies like Google, Amazon, Zalando, Vestas, the technology divisions of Mercedes and Volkswagen, even IBM has their head offices in Portugal. These are just the IT companies, but there are many other companies like BNP Paribas and finance companies as well have actually positioned many of their European operations in Portugal. They're also famous for their web summit. It happens every year. It still happened this last year, and where people from all over the world exchange information on web technology. So who is buying property in Portugal? The top international buyers are Brazilians, United Kingdom, and the French. And if you're into star spotting, Portugal is actually quite a great place. There are movie stars like Madonna, Monica Bellucci, many actually, in fact, high net worth individuals and also famous people decide to settle in Portugal because of the non-habitual residency scheme, where taxes you actually save on retirement income tax and all that. So, so people like Christian Louboutin have actually retired in Portugal. So, and Portugal is actually in this report by Ernst & Young, EY, in this report called Foreign Investors Back Europe, but is Europe back? In June 2021, it ranks Portugal as the 10th country for FDI in Europe. In fact, in certain activities such as manufacturing, it actually ranks very highly as well. It's a top activity, manufacturing. Portugal, because again, the minimum wages are low, skills are high, has become quite a manufacturing hub for Europe. And also an agricultural hub, which we will talk about later in this area where we're going to be recommending for the purposes of this webinar. It's also the 6th largest destination for software IT services, which represent more than a third the number of projects, which is 154 FDIs set up in Portugal in 2021. I'm going to bring on a guest speaker, and we're very honored to have Teresa Cunha with us today. Teresa, if you'd like to unmute yourself. So Teresa is is one of the employees in Spark Capital. She's representing Ricardo Baptista. Teresa is very experienced in Portugal properties and property development, and in fact funds as well. And so she will be describing Spark Capital, and also the project which we are very, very proud to promote today.
Hello, everyone. Are you listening, right?
Yes, that's great.
Okay,
we can hear you, Teresa. If you'd like to describe about Spark Capital, I must say Spark Capital have been a property developer who we have been dealing with for the past few years. They are one of the largest developers. They have many projects, and Teresa will bring you through. So Teresa, would you like to go through and describe Spark Capital and introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Teresa, like you saw. And I work in the Spark Capital in the sales department. So what I do is to help you to find the best investment I prefer to listen every client to see what the clients prefer and everything. If they want like in the low density areas in Lisbon and everything. So, and after that, I analyze what properties that we have, and also will give you like the best options for you for sure. One thing that is good in our company is that we was the first company bringing the rehabilitation golden visa to Portugal, and we are very expert in this kind of golden visa. We work with the golden visa since 2014, so a long time, and also we have a lot of clients, we have a lot of properties. So, and one thing that I really like in Spark Capital is that we have our construction department, and it's very good to have a control of the construction, all the materials. So I think it's very, very good to have this in our company, and also the property management that we will offer and guide you for the 5 years for your investment, because we give 4% guarantee deals, and we will manage your property without any cost. So it's good. So for me in our company, it's like one-stop shop, because you only want to choose the investment, and we will do everything for you. So it can be very good for you. Okay. You can see here 3 options that it's very important to understand, and that we are in the changes of the rules of 2022 for the golden visa. And one thing that is good in our company is that we have options for every golden visa that you want. So if you want a golden visa in Lisbon, for example, you can go through our investment fund. You can have your residential opportunity for your golden visa. If you want like a minimal golden visa, so a reduced golden visa, for example, 280, you have an option that is in Ever right now. And also if you want investment in Porto, so we are talking about 2 options, that is the big cities, Porto and Lisbon, and you have an option here. It's a low density area like Évora. So one thing that it's different for these 3 options, it's through investment fund. The minimum is 500,000. The Évora, it's the minimum it's 280, and in Porto, because it's a commercial project, so it's a very good opportunity, it's 350. So you need to know how much you want to expend, and also you need to understand what kind of investment do you prefer. For example, low density areas in the big cities, and also what kind of project do you prefer, residential, commercial, or do you prefer going through the investment fund?
What I really like about Spark Capital is actually the property management. So we have actually found that it's much easier, because our clients are investing in one country, and Portugal, another country. So it is very useful to have a property manager there. And for most of Spark Capital's property, there is a 4% guaranteed yield for 5 years. So that basically takes you throughout the duration of the golden visa. And in 5 years, what I found that a lot of their property in Lisbon have already seen significant capital appreciation. So those are, sort of invest in something, it is managed, you have its positive yielding, yielding. So the investment minus any costs you have on the investment, in fact, minus your tax representation fee for the year, minus your tax, it's positive yielding. That positive yield more than covers usually the cost of your golden visa and all the government fees and all that. And in fact, you're spending money if you'd like to go to Portugal and shop. And then in 5 years, we will also look at what we will do with your property. So Spark are there. They also have property management, and so their property managers and the property people that are experienced also in terms of what to do with your property next, whether it's to sell or to keep or to manage it in the longer run for you. So that's what we really like about Spark Capital, and we're going to be showcasing one of these properties in one of, I think, Jamie, we have a favorite city called Evora, and it's because every time Jamie visits Portugal, she talks about Evora. She goes to Evora. I think there's a wine place behind her, and that is an actual photo that she takes. Evora is the wine valley or the agricultural region. It's a capital of the Alentejo region, and we will be playing a video shortly on the Alentejo region. Justin, if you like to bring up the video, you will realize it is beautiful, and it is a wine place and really nice for holiday. But I'll come back and talk about the economics of Evora as well. So Justin, if you want to play the video.
Le Figaro called it the secret garden of Portugal. The Guardian described it as the most stunning coastline in Europe. A region of unparalleled beauty and authenticity, according to the New York Times. Unspoiled natural landscapes and great food. Monocle magazine. National Geographic calls it Portugal's time capsule. Let me tell you a secret. We call it Alentejo.
I'm going to come back and start sharing the presentation again. There we go. So Alentejo is this state or this region over here, and it is the agricultural region of Portugal. It is where much of the wine the grapes get planted. It is also famous for olives and olive oil, and in fact by 2050 Portugal estimates that it would be the largest producer of olive oil in the world. There's lots of developments happening, particularly during this time, actually, in agriculture in the Alentejo region at the moment. Evora is the capital of the region, and so apart from the tourist sites, it is also a UNESCO heritage city, and it hosts a university, and it also hosts a plaza, and there are companies that have head offices or manufacturing hubs such as Siemens, and so it is actually quite an active city for trade. It is also in between of Lisbon and the entrance into Spain called Badajoz. So there is an entrance, so it is 1 hour out from Lisbon, about 1 hour and 20 minutes out from Lisbon and around 1 hour drive to Badajoz. So because of its unique location, it is also, there'll be a train line from Spain, going through Badajoz and then to Lisbon, and it's the only stop in between. And it is sort of planned in the very long run for this train to connect all the way, in fact, to China. So it is actually a very important city. It also is quite near the Lisbon airport, and it also hosts an airport of its own. So these are some of the sites, the tourist sites in Évora. There's a cathedral, a temple, and also it's also famous for its aqueduct. It's actually an old Roman city. It's a very beautiful city, and it's a UNESCO heritage site. What I like about any property in this city is it's a circular city, and there's walls around the city. And basically, I feel that any of the properties within the walls are actually good investments, because you can practically count how many properties there are. So there is a limited supply and definitely a lot of demand in this city. This is the property. It consists of a few buildings, the main building and the side building. Teresa, would you like to describe a little bit about the property?
Sure. And you spoke earlier about Évora, very, very good. So congratulations. So about this project, one thing that is very good, and you need to know about this because it's very important, it's that when you have an option for low density areas, you have low density areas that it's seasonal and other ones that it's not seasonal. Évora, it's not seasonal at all because we have universities, you have engineers working there, you have a lot of persons working there. If you have a university, for sure, you have teachers, you have students, and also you have hospitals. So when you have hospitals, for sure, you have doctors, nurses, and other persons that work in this kind of in this kind of hospitals, university. Another thing that is very good, it's that you have a lot of students that are going there. Like every year, you have 8,000 students going to Évora. So about this project, we are more focused in persons that are starting to having a life. For example, one person and that work in Évora and are looking for a property very close to for example, the hospital, the university. And why I'm saying that it's very close, because if you want to live in Évora right now, for example, our property is inside of the walls. And this is very important. You don't have like a lot of opportunities to have a property in Évora for now. But so the persons that live in Évora and work in Évora, they need to stay in other properties 20 minutes from Évora. So what I think in the future, for example, for our project, we are giving opportunity to this kind of person who lives inside of these walls in the center of Évora. So the price will increase for sure. The opportunities, everyone are looking for this kind of opportunities. So investment here in Évora is for sure a very good option, because for sure it's not seasonal and everything that I already mentioned. About our project, you have the patio. Can you share the other one before this one? Okay, perfect. You have here the main building, and also you can see a patio. So you have on this building 3 floors. You have 2 floors on the main building and 3 floors for the patio. You have in this project, you have properties that the price is 280, but also you have prices that it's 150, for example. So this is good because you can have 2 apartments for 1 golden visa, because you need for the 280 for the golden visa investment. This is a very good option. The location is amazing, and we can see inside. And this is other thing that is very important. It's that because it's a history place and you have like very difficult to do the rehabilitation there, and this is why we are doing right now. The other thing that is very important, it's that because the building it's very good for now to rent your property. We are giving the opportunity to clients receiving from the day one rehabilitation, rentability. So we are giving for the client 70% of rentability that we are doing with the property management now. And when the end of the construction, so when we have the property in the end of the rehabilitation, we will give 4% guarantee deal for 3 years for the client. So this is good. You don't need to wait until the end of the construction to have your rentability. You can just starting from the day one receiving money through your investment. So this is good. Our idea for you, this is a picture from the future. So you can see that it will be an old building, but with a lot of history, but the interior will be very modern. So it will be very interesting because you have the history and you have the modern that it's very easily to sell and very easily to have a marketing on, for example, Airbnb or other things to have a strategy to rent the property.
What I really like about this building is it's already quite nice. So a lot of the rehabilitation buildings which we market are actually really dilapidated. And then of course there is the renovation on top of that. But this one is actually really quite nice already, and it's actually renting out already. So but before the renovation to make it modern, there is already yield in this building. People are already renting it. And so Spark are very generous to, even during the time before the renovation starts, which will be sometime towards the end of the year, to be able to share the current rental with the owners, and you get 70% of the rental. So for more information on this, we can describe it more, please contact us. I will be sending you after this an email with the summary of this program, summary of the Golden Visa, the recording, and also on this property as well. So yeah, feel free then to respond to my email or my WhatsApp, and then we can describe this further as well. So what we really like as well about Spark is a lot of their in their projects, they actually do a really good job in the rehabilitation or in the renovation. They have their own construction arm, and these are the quality of their work. It actually includes the rehabilitation, everything. They almost like they have to do the new insulation, the new electrical, the new plumbing and all that, and more often than not, unless it already has very good flooring, the new flooring, and the new bathrooms as well. So this is a project, for example, under the Golden Visa, and it is a very viable, and we like this project a lot. We see that Evora as a city has a lot of chance to grow, and thus a really good chance of capital appreciation. This has 4% 5-year yield. It is optional. If you decide you want to stay in it, that's fine too. You don't have to take the guaranteed yield. If you find that you might want to stay in half of the time and Airbnb it the other half of the time, we also assist you in planning that. So there are actually a lot of options in what you can do with your property, and that's what we like. We like to choose properties and property developers who give options to our clients in how you want to use or manage your property. And really we do aim for a positive yield property, and also a property which gives you a good capital appreciation and also a good exit, so that the Portugal Golden Visa is a cherry on the pie, and the investment is actually making you money meanwhile. We have some questions, but I am mindful of time. We will be emailing you, and please email us back. You can also WhatsApp us on these numbers as well. There's Georgina's number there, Jamie, mine. Georgina represents us in Indonesia, so it you might want to reach out to her in Indonesia. And also we have quite a few clients invited by Savix today. UK under their European operations. And if you have been invited by Savix, do contact Cassie Fong as well, and that is his number, and we will look into answering your questions. There are actually quite a lot of questions, and we will answer your questions as and when you sort of reach out to us, and we will also be reaching out to you. Usually we start with a free consultation with Antonio. It's a 1-hour consultation where common questions to Antonio would be on reunification, your family members, and all that. All these questions are unique, and we can reply to each question one-on-one. Some clients like to inquire about tax as well, and Antonio is he's a specialist actually in European tax, and so he will be able to answer those questions as well. And also in every property that we promote, we do a due diligence on the property. So some of the due diligence questions Antonio can answer as well. We actually check the title, make sure it's unencumbered. We also check through eligibility, of course, for Golden Visa. Spark is great because generally their contracts have what we call a Golden Visa guarantee, which means that if you don't get the Golden Visa for any problem that is the problem of the properties, then there is a buyback guarantee. So that's great, and we want to ensure that our clients are protected as well. So we do review the contracts and go through the contracts with you. So that would be, you know, some of the typical questions. At the moment, some of our clients are looking at traveling to Portugal, and also what are some of the logistics requirements traveling to Portugal. With that, you can also inquire with either Jamie or I. Actually, the experiences are quite good. Jamie just came back from Portugal not too long ago to renew, to spend her 14 days and for the renewal of her card. So those are also some of the questions you can reach out to us. They're all good experiences that we have had with this Portugal Golden Visa, in promotion of the Portugal Golden Visa and also the properties. And we're very, very proud actually that we have assisted so many clients, and are very happy. And from our side, we also want to hold your hand throughout the 5 years and beyond. We even will link you to people like education specialists if you're looking at planning your children's education through the Portugal route. Portugal education institutions, most of them are part of a program called Erasmus, where there are twinning programs, I suppose, or visitations with other universities in Europe, but also with the rest of the world, such as the UK and also the US as well. So in those questions, also reach out to us. Everyone's situation is unique and everyone's questions tend to be unique. And so do reach out to us for that next Zoom with usually Antonio next, and then after that, Teresa for the properties as well.